Everything was quiet on the street. A veteran hero was looking to get some R&R after a long day's work. Everyone in the bar was patiently waiting for the broadcast to begin. The veteran was a regular of this establishment. He wasn't as profitable today as others, but work is work. He had arrived just in time for the important event that was being broadcast around the world. The Commonwealth was voting on whether or not to punish the world's most famous hero. The voting was over. All that was left was for it to be announced. 325 votes in favor, 0 votes against, and 0 abstained. The decision was unanimous. The Parliament President addressed the accused. Code name Mask, the evidence is clear of your atrocities against humanity. You are responsible for multiple massacres during the war and for overseeing the wrongful imprisonment and execution of over 30,000 people in the purge of the upper ranks of our Commonwealth. At the same time, you also attacked friendly people from other countries and destroyed trade relations between the two nations, as well as causing a vicious food shortage in the northern region of our Commonwealth. And due to the above crimes, the Supreme Council should have sentenced you to death. But as it turns out, even with such crimes, this hero was useful to this world. So, the people in power wanted to make sure this asset would continue to be available to mankind, just in case another alien invasion were to happen. They restricted him from only obtaining 2 roles in their society: the Supreme Leader and the Supreme Marshal of the Commonwealth. He would retain his current title as Special Hero, the only one in existence. But they placed unreasonable burdens upon him. If their world was ever threatened, he would immediately return to the battlefield and fight for their survival. The scene shifts back to the bar, where conversations highlighted the stark contrast of public opinions circulating about the heroic figure known as Mask. On one hand, you have the older individuals who understand the reality of the world. They knew that if it wasn't for the special hero, codenamed Mask, no one on this planet would be here to have such a conversation. But because of this special hero's actions of raising other heroes around him up, the world was a safer place. And some individuals felt that the special hero was no longer needed for the survival of mankind. But it seems the ones who gained power because of this hero's actions had brainwashed the younger populace to see things differently. The credit for survival of the world belonged to everyone on it, not one man's actions alone could be seen as the reason why humanity survived. But a part of the populace knew that the ordinary people of this world had given up hope of survival, and the heroes with extraordinary powers had failed against the invasion. But a long man stood his ground on the day that was known as Hell, and he alone stepped forward from that day victorious. But some in this world resented him for not moving beyond the horrors of the past, for he believed that they had only experienced the first wave of an invasion, and the future of mankind was still in jeopardy. And the worst part? He implied that some of the world's greatest heroes were in bed with the unnameable secret force that was out to destroy mankind. But you can't blame these individuals. They all just wanted to live in peace and move beyond the dark times. And at the same time, a part of the world's populace understood and believed in the special hero. They knew that mankind's survival was only a fluke and that they had to be ready for the day when the real enemies arrived. Back in the halls of the Commonwealth, special hero codenamed Mask was given a choice. He could retain his honor bestowed upon him by mankind, for the world was grateful for his actions at that time. He should be thankful to mankind for doing this for him, because after all, he was still a criminal. But the hero came to his senses. What was going on? Why was he here? He knew he had died from the sneak attack from the Lord of the Woven Night. Was this a flashback to his previous life? He had been in the same place, being judged and betrayed by his companions, when an unknown force gave him a choice to become a hero. This couldn't be. Was he being given a second chance? A system popped up informing him of his options. He had completed his original mission to rebuild humanity and form an alliance which would have the power to defend against any existential crisis that humanity may face. He was given 2 branches to choose from. The mission rewards he would receive would be issued depending upon his choice. Branch 1, the hero's path. A new crisis has appeared. although humans cannot understand your behavior. But as a hero, you still choose to protect mankind in the dark. Branch 2. The Monster's Path. A new crisis has appeared. Stupid human beings cannot understand your behavior. But saving mankind has nothing to do with humanity. And since human beings would kill the hero, then repenting in darkness is the actions of a bloodless and useless monster. The system informs him that in 20 minutes he'd be randomly sent to an F-level environment. Who would have thought that I'd be reborn again? And once again stand at the crossroads of this historical turnaround. This time, I'll choose the monster's path. The parliament president was growing annoyed at the silence of the hero. He understood that the special hero was an incomprehensible existence in this world. That he had zero emotional or political wisdom. Even in such a situation, he ignored the thoughts and feelings of the people of the world. He mentally admitted that the Commonwealth had actively worked towards ruining the special hero's prestige in the eyes of society, leading to the understanding that he was just a relic from the past that was best buried and forgotten. He was just a burden that was holding mankind back from a better future. The whole point of this trial was to exile him in every way from society. From this day forward, he will become a harmless reminder of days gone by. And if the hero disagreed, it would prove his point that he was a relic hell-bent on holding power for his sake alone. All the members of Congress knew that he had fell into their carefully orchestrated trap. The hero decided it was time to move past this and start his new life. I have an objection. The crowd, which only a second ago was so quiet you could hear a pin drop, burst out in conversation. The president was ready for this. The people watching at home knew this was going to be the outcome. No way would that psychopath give up power and allow the rest of us to move on. The world has sacrificed so much for him. It was time they hung him for his crimes. The world watched as their savior gave up his title of special hero. Everyone was shocked. This is not what he was supposed to do. What did you say? I said I give up my title of being a special hero. The hero was tired of protecting mankind and being blamed for all his efforts. The president of the parliament raged on, but none of it really mattered to the hero. As he walked away, he explained that he had no problem with their decision. He was more relaxed than he had ever been. This was not in the president's calculations. As the silent hero that supported mankind, he was supposed to just bend his knee and accept this punishment. He was worried that the hero would become their greatest enemy. He had to act fast. He had a plan to use the attention of the world to force the hero to relinquish his power. Since the hero had relinquished his title, that power belonged to the world. Back in the bar, the viewers were intrigued by the sudden change of events. The ones that understood what was going on explained the situation to the others. They wonder how this was even possible, as the hero was the highest rank in the world. How could the president force someone who was 4 ranks higher than his current rank of 9 to do anything against their will? No one on this planet was above the 10th rank, and no one believed that would ever change, even in the future. The president explained that the mask was where he was because the people of this world poured their resources into him. No way could he just walk away with the heart and soul of the world. That would be a disgrace to everyone alive. So, in order for him to leave, he would need to give up the power that didn't belong to him. Power radiated from the savior's body, putting everyone around the world on edge. But surprisingly, the hero agreed to give it all up. He raised his arm to the air and released his energy, forcing everyone in the room to bow down to it. The ones not strong enough to withstand such a power begged for help. It took all of the energy of the rank 9 president to keep from being forced down by such a powerful force. If the people in charge of this world wanted his power, then he would give it all back to them. The power radiated from his hand shot straight into the air, burst into the ceiling and out into the open sky. People who wasn't watching the broadcast was shocked by what they saw. Some believed another king-class monster had descended to this planet. The savior was so powerful that the beam of energy shot to the heavens. Lightning sparked across the whole city. There was a high chance that majority of parliament would perish before all of his power had been depleted. Slowly, the blue beam began to flicker out, becoming a trickle of its once great force. The president exerted all of his energy to endure the 10 minutes it took for the excruciating power to cease. But now he was the strongest person in the room. The once great hero was now nothing more than an ordinary human. All the fear he once felt had evaporated, and a malicious smile crossed his lips. The hero had no problem with his actions. His power did not define him. He turned around and continued his journey towards his new life. He flicked his mask over his shoulder as he went. The president thought to himself that the day would soon come that the hero would no longer walk this earth. The hero disappeared from sight as he passed through the doors of the Parliament building. The president was in shock. There was no way he could teleport after releasing all of his power. Random teleportation has been activated. Choose a level 4 secret realm. Mother Spider Hatchling's Nest. The portal cast a blue hue on the walls of the secret room. The steel-cutting squad stepped through as their boss explained their goal for today. All of their members were above level 2, meaning they would have no problem easily dispatching the trash mobs. The final boss was level 3, together, they would be able to take it down. The leader wondered if any of his members were afraid of spiders, as he looked towards the 2 women in his group. They were not pleased with him looking down on them. The other members were ready to get underway and wanted their captain to stop messing around. The sooner they got out of here, the sooner they would find out the outcome of the trial for the great hero codenamed Mask. They were taking advantage of the situation, as this secret realm was only available because everyone was intrigued by what was happening in the real world. They had played around enough. It was time to get serious. We must work together and raid the whole secret realm as quickly as possible. Yes, Captain! They all looked back as someone stepped through the portal. A hero on a new journey in life stepped forward. The group knew there was something off about this individual. Who would enter a secret realm without any equipment? Our protagonist was experiencing things that he hadn't experienced in a lifetime. He had forgotten what it was like to enter a low-level secret realm. The feeling of nostalgia radiated from him. He hadn't been to this place since he had originally awakened, all those years ago. He was used to secret realms on a whole nother level, where if you didn't defeat them in time, it would transform into a realm where everlasting demons would appear. These places were so dangerous, normal monsters were afraid to enter them. If you were lucky to survive long enough for the boss to appear, you would be facing an unnameable demon god. The system had decided to send him here after he relinquished all his power and de-leveled back to level 1. Human status: normal. Alignment: none. Monster status: undecided. Monster component: none. He wasn't sure if this choice was wise, but he knew that in his last life the path of the hero was a waste of time. He wasn't sure if it was okay for him to be looking forward to becoming a cold-blooded monster. The group leader approached him, being as gentle as he possibly could, inquiring why he was weaponless. But the protagonist explained that his fist was the only weapon he needed. The captain patted him on the arm, believing him to be a martial artist. But he wasn't totally persuaded by this. He wanted to know what level of professional he was. For someone to come to a secret realm looking so confident, this individual had to be at the same level as me. The captain was worried that if that were the case, he would take a significant portion of their loot. But they were all shocked when the words level 1 left the lips of the young man, standing before them. You can't be joking, little brother. Being here, as a level 1 professional can only mean your death. The captain was relieved on the inside. He was scared, they were going to lose a lot of money today. The protagonist slipped out of the grip of the captain, saying aloud that he was here to crush monsters. The people around him felt sorry for the young man. There was no way he would even be able to beat their level 2 healer, let alone crush monsters. Thinking of his safety, they advised him to stay in this room. When they were done with the secret realm, he would be able to leave here safely. He tried to reassure them that he wouldn't bring any trouble to them. The leader warned him that since he was the one here looking for trouble, that he shouldn't expect them to save his life, when danger met him face to face. As they headed out, their youngest female glanced back, not pleased with how her group had handled this interaction. The group battled their way to the spider cave. The older females shot deadly fireballs at the spiders, while the archer was a crack shot, capable of covering the back of his captain from afar. The lancer and the captain fought at close combat, as if they had been fighting together for years. As the former hero stood back and watched them work, the group's healer approached and apologized for the actions of her group. She really wanted this stranger to know that the captain was a good guy, and he was only looking out for his best interest. She wanted to make sure he understood that if he wasn't careful, this place would consume him. He explained that things were so much different nowadays than back when he raided. People were so much more progressive and cautious. He guessed the lessons that were learned in blood by his generation had passed down to the younger generation. She was surprised that he talked just like those uppity people in the Commonwealth. But she agreed with him that the policies that the hero mask had put into place was for the betterment of all mankind. His actions had strengthened the training of the professionals and had fostered a cooperation among them that was for all of their betterment. The death rate had really plummeted because of the hero's action, which allowed the population of professionals to expand among the human race. The young healer had got lost in their conversation and had forgotten to introduce herself. Her name was Yensisi, and she was a level 2 healer. Nice to meet you. I'm Xiaoqiu, a level 1 professional. I have yet to select my career path. She was shocked by his admission. He explained that he was still thinking it over. In his past life, he was the one who created all of the paths that human beings followed. But all of his choices going forward was still a mystery. She went over his possibilities out loud. She knew most definitely with his physique that he would never be cut out for close-range DPS. She believed he should focus in the area of spellcasting. When he gave her an unnerving glare, she realized that maybe she was being a little too talkative for a stranger. He grabbed her by her arm, moving her out of the incoming path of a monster attack. Her teammates would never make it there in time. So, Xiao ripped the leg off of the spider and used it to stab it through the eye all in one fluid motion. The spider collapsed to the ground as the healer Yen held on to his body. The others were shocked at what a martial artist was capable of. But the lancer explained he had never seen a martial artist do such things. He just crushed the spider's most vulnerable point, and in one fluid motion pushed it through its eye socket. Only someone who clearly understood a monster structure and had a great understanding of their own body was capable of that. The danger has passed. It's okay for you to let me go. She was totally embarrassed as she backed away from him. He was relieved to find out that choosing the monster's path was very similar to the hero's path. That one kill had gained him 500 experience points. He knew now he would be able to level up easily by killing monsters. In his past life, this was the reason why he became such a high-level professional. With the fighting experience he gained in his last life, he would be able to get there even faster this time. The captain apologized for misjudging Xiao. He extended his gratitude for saving Yan's life, and offered him an equal cut of their spoils upon completion of their current mission. Xiao explained there was no need for such a gesture. It was only right to help each other out in the secret realms. The captain knew Xiao was putting him in his place on purpose. As the group moved forward, everyone fought together to complete the mission. In no time they had reached the boss, and their plan would remain the same. The captain would be the tank. The mage had the responsibility of making sure to burn away the spider webs throughout the battle. The rest would be basic damage dealers. The group had progressed so fast that if they were lucky, they would make it in time for the end of the trial. The lancer could care less about the end. He knew the outcome. That hypocrite of a mask would be found guilty. I'm just curious what he looks like. No one had any idea who the mask truly was. The group continued to chit-chat about the mask until they upset Yen the healer. She was totally in the mask's corner and knew intimately the incident that everyone called the massacre of the mask. She knew the mask had done the best he could in the circumstances he was put in. The lancer teased her. Are you sure you're not one of those paid actors that you see on the internet? Their captain insisted that they were embarrassing themselves in front of company. They all turned towards the challenge at hand. The environment was covered in spider webs. Some of the group was more interested in valuable goods, while others were interested in the treasure chest that was left behind. Prepare yourself, here comes the boss. The spider let out a screech of anger as the captain rushed in to gain aggro. Their blows clashed as the other damage dealers searched for openings. Xiao was surprised at how unintelligent the boss at this level was. With any luck, he would end this soon. The mage kept the spider webs under control while the archer guarded her. The healer was keeping the captain alive, with all she had. The boss stood no chance against their teamwork, dying in short order. Everyone will get their equal cut of the rewards. Minus little brother Zhao's cut. Xiao didn't understand why they kept referring to this place as a level 3 secret realm, when his system clearly stated it was a level 4 secret realm. The group realized that something was off. The treasure chest had not appeared. A mysterious figure approached them from the darkest corner of the cavern. A girl, wearing a school uniform. Her head was covered in an astronaut's helmet. The real boss had shown her face. She gave off no signs of being worth any of their time, so the Lancer decided to end this quickly. The possessed astronaut girl stumbled forward, her toes gripping the ground as she ran. The Lancer readied himself. No one believed that such a direct attack would land. As soon as she was in range, he stabbed her through. Her pink fluids spread all over the place. His lance pierced through to the other side. Everyone was impressed by the sight. And with that, he went in for a killing blow. But to his surprise, spider webs emerged from the hole he left in her torso. They shot out, binding his arms. As he struggled to free himself, without batting her eyes, she snapped his arms. There was no way they would be able to cut that silk. The captain ordered the mage to burn it away, and the archer sprinted forward to rescue his teammate from the flames. But as he got closer, the flames raged out of control. It was as if the boss was stoking the flames. As the flames cleared, all their eyes met a horrifying sight. The astronaut girl had gone from 2 legs to an 8-legged freak. Xiao was the only one among them where shock wasn't the prominent feature on their face. The Lancer turned, desperately trying to escape. But he was severely impeded by the silk wrapped around his body. With barely any effort, the 8-legged freak stuck her pretty foot through his chest. The Lancer stood there, looking down at the foot, knowing his life was over. The archer was infuriated. But Xiao grabbed his forearm to calm him down. Don't act rashly. If you go after such a beast, you will be next. As the archer turned to give Xiao a piece of his mind, his captain explained the wisdom in the words that was just told to him. They had pushed so fast towards the boss that they had a full 3 hours before they could escape. The new plan was to make a tactical retreat. They would fight the boss while slowly making their way back to the entrance. Then they would escape immediately once the portal opened. The 8-legged freak decided to go on the offensive. This time, the captain was her target. Her silk shot from her exposed wound and wrapped around his forearm. The archer instantly released a volley of arrows. But in a second she had him completely wrapped up and defenseless. The captive captain screamed his name as the archer was sucked towards the freak. As he got closer, teeth emerged, and the hole grew wider. It was a horrible sight. The monster ate his head off and dropped the body to the ground. This sent the captain into a rage. He charged up and took a swing towards the freak of a boss. She countered his blow with nothing more than one of her legs. The captain was confused. There was no way a level 4 monster was able to counter a level 3 swordsman's attack. As the spider reeled him in, the main protagonist Xiao came towards the captain offering his help. Give me your sword. The only way to live now is if I cut off your arm. If you want to live, give me your sword. It only took the captain a split second to accept this decision. He flung his sword up to Xiao, who came down with a strike that removed the captain's arm up to the elbow. The pain was excruciating, but he would live. The two retreated to safety. As the healer Yen, rushed in to seal the wound. The mage chose this time to lose her mind. She ran away in a panic, screaming, "I don't want to die in a place like this." Yen asked Xiao why wasn't he running away also? "Run! You can't run away." She let her go on purpose. The thrill of the chase was like candy to a boss like that, who was best known as God-chosen. God-chosen feed on the negative emotions of humans. Delicacies such as fear, jealousy, resentment were treats like no other to such a boss. Yen was confused by the words coming out of Xiao's mouth. God-chosen were monsters chosen by the outer gods of the void. If a monster was chosen, they would gain terrifying growth, speed and power, and have an appearance that was bizarre to the eyes of a human. God-chosen were nothing special to Xiao, he had killed them countless times. Heck, the first ever secret realm he entered when he had little to no power was assigned a God-chosen monster. For some reason, fate had bad taste when it came to him. The eighth-legged freak began to release a purple miasma into the air. The healer cast a poison-repelling spell on the group. The mage was instantly taken over by the miasma. Yen realized that the purple haze was spiritual energy, not poisonous gas. This was the perfect opportunity for Xiao. Now that everyone was unconscious, he could reveal his true power. The boss freak was surprised when something that was supposed to be her food appeared out of nowhere next to her. While he had forfeited all his power, his spirit and soul were still level 14. The boss freak's spiritual presence came nowhere near his. The pink miasma triggered the system to give Xiao a new ability. He let the spider know that thanks to her attack knocking out the normal humans, he was able to use his ability and fight her on even terms. A mere God-chosen being should feel proud to witness his existence. As the freak attempted to soak in her spiritual presence, the monster once known as the special hero blasted towards the freak, slicing off one of her legs as he went. Other than being long, this really is a good leg. She attempted to capture him by sending silk in all directions. But such a simple move didn't have a chance of landing on him. Xiao realized that maybe his expectations for this God-chosen was too high. She was only level 4 after all. But that wasn't his problem, so he continued his attack. He sprinted down the wall, and as he reached her, he laid a barrage upon her that removed all of her legs except for one. As he tossed all her legs away, he decided it was time to finish this. "It looks like you only have one leg left. So, let's get this over with." As she attempted to hobble away, he decided to relieve her of that luxury. With no legs at her disposal, she did her best to crawl away. Her hand stopped in mid-motion as the monster stepped in front of her. "When you were playing with humans, you didn't think it would be your turn so soon, did you?" He put his foot through her head, wrapping up this pathetic fight. Level 4 Secret Realm. Mother Spider Hatcher Nest. Raid complete. Mission reward issue. Spider's foot. Should be a spider's leg. Survivors will be automatically transported out of the secret room. People went about their normal hustle and bustle, the kind you would expect from a large metropolitan city. Yen walked around in a stupor. It had been over 2 hours since she had been teleported out of that held trap of a secret realm. Their captain had been rushed to the hospital. Her and the mage were able to leave on their own volition. She had no idea if Xiaoqiu had made it out alive. But as soon as she thought it, he was standing there right in front of her. After his victory, Xiao had been teleported to Day's city. He currently had a major problem. He was so powerful in his last life that money wasn't something he dealt with, meaning he was flat broke at the moment. He was looking to rent a room, but he couldn't afford their cheapest unit. There was a lot of things about society that he just didn't understand. He was going to have a hard time surviving on his own in this society. Lucky for him, he had made a good impression on a particular healer. Xiaoqiu, Xiaoqiu, Xiaoqiu. He wasn't used to his name being called, but he looked up eventually. The healer from the secret room was there. She didn't appreciate him not knowing her name and calling her that healer. She explained her name to him so that he would never forget it. Above all else, she was relieved that he was still alive. The best thing about her was that she was quick on the uptake. She owed him her life, so he would be staying with her from now on. She explained the history of her city as they walked to her home. It only dated back 40 years. It was created after the disaster struck. The rapid development and urbanization of the original city had transformed it into an urban village. They reached her home around the time she got done with her story. She explained that he wouldn't have to worry about her inconveniencing him, that he would have his own separate room. The medal next to her entryway caught Zhao's eye. Her father had received it after the great disaster. He was a hero and a soldier. He was much stronger than a simple level 2 professional like herself. He was a level 5 melee professional who had participated in many battles. He loved telling stories about the time he spent fighting side by side with the mask. They were so close. Not only did they camp together, but they also ate food from the same pot. She didn't know whether the stories were true or not. The stories had been recited in her family since she was a little girl. She knew they were most likely lies. Her father was a drunkard who liked to dabble in the art of wordplay. None of that sounded like the mask the world knew. She explained to Xiao her father had passed away. He suffered greatly from the time he spent in the war. While his body was healed, his soul would never bounce back. And he passed away shortly after being discharged from the army. Xiao inquired about her mother, and she explained her mother had passed after giving birth to her sister. "Don't you dare give me such an expression. All that is in my past, and can't you see I'm living well?" She showed him around her house. "I'll get you a quilt, but things like underwear and pajamas, you're going to have to provide for yourself." A place like this was not what he was expecting. As soon as he started earning money, he would make sure to pay her rent. A little girl in a wheelchair rolled out. She was not pleased with having an intruder in her home. Her sister explained the situation and told her he will be staying with them from now on. "Oh, big sister, you're so kind to bring people you just met to our humble abode." She turned around and headed back inside without another word. "Don't worry, she'll get used to you eventually. She's just not too happy at the moment." A person she looks up to is being judged unfairly in the public's eye today. Xiao was shocked that he had so many fans. He really believed the whole world was against him. Yensi's little sister scanned through the trash that the internet was spouting about her hero. "He's just a selfish bastard who tossed away all our precious resources. There's still a lot of dangerous things out there that was his responsibility to protect us from, and he just chose to walk away. No one should believe that he just gave away his power. Look how he teleported away at the end." Yan's little sister was furious at the things she read. It's like people from this world are blind. How could they lie to themselves about the reality of the world they lived in? The mask wasn't the one relying on anyone. Mankind should be thanking him for what he did for them. She went to work fighting the warriors on the other side of her keyboard. She had no time to be bothered by her sister, dinner, or her sister's guests. "The only person I'd come out there for has just been shunned by a retarded civilization." The two of them sat down for a simple dinner prepared by Yen. He was used to eating anything he could get his hands on, so this was most definitely a delicacy. Back then, he truly was a real hero. He sacrificed everything for the safety of mankind. The news continued to slander the reality of things that happen. The world was hell-bent on not being indebted to a single man. Without the earth, the sun rotates just the same. Without mask, human beings can also move forward in glory. Is the mask really running away from his crimes? Xiao, what do you think? Don't rush, you can eat as much as you like. Everyone believes him to be a criminal, so I guess he's just that, a criminal. Yen never backed down from an opportunity to stand up for the mask. She was upset that he was being cold towards a great person. Someone was shouting obscenities from the front of their house. She explained that Kaijiang Investment had been harassing her family. They were threatening to burn the house down with them inside. She rushed outside to confront them. "So, we finally get to see you face to face. You know you're a hard person to track down." Yen had never misled them. She was always truthful and to the point. She had no interest in selling her family's home. They knew too much about her personal situation. and wasted no time jumping on her about the tragedy that befell her and her team earlier that day. One of the intruders was a professional capable of playing mind games with his prey. They were giving her 5 days before they began their harassment upon her family. They had also dropped her offer from $3 million to $100,000 federal dollars. She would never sell her house, so it really didn't matter. They were relying on information that they had attained illegally. They knew she needed money to continue to get her little sister's treatment. And currently, her bank account only possessed $30,000. Xiao had had enough of this and decided to make his presence known. The douchebag intruder rushed in to greet who he believed to be her boyfriend. As he introduced himself, Yen screamed for him not to shake the guy's hand. That he was a mage who specialized in mental attacks. But it was too late. Xiao have fell into the trap. The douchebag rushed in expecting to shatter Zhao's mental state. He wouldn't be too rough on the boyfriend. He would just make him take a nap for a few months. But he realized something wasn't right. He should have made it there by now. As he stopped and checked his surroundings, he realized that he was in trouble. He needed to escape this place immediately. But it was too late. A giant wave crashed down, smashing him. He was completely submerged in Zhao's mental energy. Something dark and evil loomed in the depth of this endless ocean. Monster! Turns out he was the one who would not be waking up anytime soon. Yen can't understand what tactics the douchebag was trying to use. Blackmail. That's exactly what this had to be. The smarter of the two subordinates held back his friend. He explained what was very obvious. Do you believe you could take out someone who just took out our leader? Do you believe you're on our leader's level? They realized they were in a bad place and needed to retreat immediately. The message is clear, Yen. We didn't expect you to be able to find someone to protect you so quickly. But let this be a warning to you. If you dare attack our people, things won't go so easy next time. Did you put him in a coma, Xiao? Yes and no. He forced his way into my mental world. This is simply just the consequences of his action. How long have you been putting up with the harassment? Not long after my father died about 4 years ago. At the time we were financially stable. So, they chose to use scare tactics. Whenever I wasn't around, they would beat on the door. And threaten my little sister. Fortunately, I became a level 2 healer and joined the captain's team. That alone kept them at bay all this time. They didn't even wait 1 day before trying to attack us again. Why did the government not help you? They were set up to give preferential treatment to families of the soldiers who fought in the Great War. Xiao realized that even though he had said these practices in place, they obviously weren't working. The simple answer to that is money. Why would they help us, when it would be more beneficial to help the wealthy people over there? Yen insisted that he was her guest, and he shouldn't be helping her wash the dishes. He explained that this was the least he could do to show his gratitude. If she was going to house him and feed him, he would do as much as he could to relieve her burdens. She explained that her debts to him continued to grow. Not only did he save her life, but he protected her home from dangerous individuals. What are your plans moving forward? Are you going to join a new team? I'm hoping that the captain wakes up. If not, I won't have any choice but to find a new reliable team. The reality of what goes on in secret realms aren't very good. Not only do parties compete to gain as much as they can from each secret realm, but there are rumors about parties who backstab their individual members. The mask can only do so much for us normal people. Even with his rule of people being forbidden to kill each other in the secret realms, nothing really stopped it from taking place. She let him know that if she did find a party, he would be the first one she recommended it to. Xiaoqiu knew that no one would stand by a monster in battle, and that the path he had chosen would be a solitary one. Task: Night Dweller Level 4 Secret Realm. Task description: This is not a challenging task, but unexpected benefits may come if you raid this secret realm. Test requirements: Clear the secret realm alone. Remaining preparation time: 12 hours. A portal ripped open inside of a Gothic church. Xiaoqiu stepped in ready to take care of business. Thanks to the system, he was able to enter a dungeon whenever he wanted, from wherever he wanted. This allowed him to skip the official channels. He dated the dungeon to be Middle-era European. He stopped in front of the two gargoyles and knew immediately that they were his enemies. They ripped themselves from their perch, ready to do battle. Scarlet Gargoyles. Level 3. When there are no enemies, they just look like statues. But when people pass by, they will become a ferocious beast. Quality stone's surface gives them high defense, and also makes their fangs more dangerous. Stone gargoyles were a fearsome enemy. They had a strong body that wasn't weak to magic. Neither physical nor magical attacks did much to them. The Slash-Iron team would have been wiped out immediately against such a force. But Xiao was ready for this battle. Such a pity you guys have to encounter me. Without even trying, he held both their heads in the palm of his hands. Such enemies were a waste of his time. All the stained glass windows in the building lit up, and an army of gargoyles appeared. Bring it! The army ripped themselves free of their bindings and took to the air. Xiao decided to fight on their terms. He leaped in the air, punching, kicking and slashing. As time passed, the ground became littered with boulders, until there was only one left. He held it by its wings. You seem scared. I do believe stone isn't supposed to have feelings. And he ripped it apart as if it was a piece of paper. The boss made his appearance. Leader. Lux stone statue. Level 4. Compared to the gargoyles, this one was different. A large amount of time was spent to create it. One could tell it was an extinguished statue. Do you dare to crush it with your hands? What use does the demon have with the body and looks of a human? Such a look only makes me want to kill you even more. Die, you abomination. A group of 4 professionals knocked their way into the Gothic cathedral. But all they found was rubble. This makes no sense. This dungeon just appeared 12 hours ago. We are most definitely the first team to enter. Our contact in the inspection bureau made sure of that. Someone unreasonably strong was here before we came. Look at this fragment. It's split as if someone ripped it with their bare hands. How's that even possible? Look over there. The professional pointed towards a giant pillar in the Gothic church. The boss was on display, pierced through the chest with his own spear. The boss at the Secret Realm Inspection Bureau was furious. No one had any clue what was going on. They had reports coming in from the field that the dungeons were being cleared before anyone had the chance to get to them. At best, there was someone neglecting their duties. But the worst-case scenario was that someone out there had an inside man in the Secret Realm Inspection Bureau. They had to find out how this team of individuals were evading the monitoring of their division. On the surface, an amateur could miscue this for a good thing. But the reality was, this had the chance to go horribly wrong. While on the surface it seemed that the Federation was safer with this individual out there. But what if this person, who was unregistered, started ambushing the expedition teams as they showed up to clear the dungeons? The younger generation couldn't understand the horrors of secret realms before the Inspection Bureau was established. The number one cause to death wasn't monsters. Greed and desperation ran rampant. And teams had to do their best to watch out for their fellow humans above all else. It was their responsibility to make sure the world didn't fall back into such a barbaric practice. The first reported infiltration was the Level 4 Gargoyle's secret realm. And going by the evidence at hand, the intruder is Level 4 but at most Level 5. The evidence pointed to it being a single individual. The destruction of all the remains aligned with this theory. This explained why there was so much waste being left behind. A single individual had no way to process the amount of materials and spoils from so many dungeons. So, this will be where they focused their attention. They would catch this culprit by following the money. The team was ordered to keep a close eye on the market and to watch for patterns that aligned with the spoils that came from the 7 secret realms that had been hit. And they were to report it immediately. This tactic most likely wasn't going to work. Xiao really didn't have much use for the money. He didn't even mind that he was getting scammed on the material sales. His goal was primarily to get stronger. But for the time being, he had enough money to keep him from being a burden to Yencisi. Her voice came to his ears as soon as he thought of her. He spotted her trying to sell a sword to a shady businessman. She simply wasn't a very good salesman. She explained that the blade had history and had slain many monsters. But the salesman used that to his advantage. He explained that that was the reason why he couldn't pay much for it. With all the scratches on the blade, it would break after a few uses. Its only worth was in scrap. How can the relic her father left behind be considered scrap? He raised the price to 3,500 while implying it was only because she was looking so pitiful. The sword's name was Flying Crow. Her sister's medical expenses came first, meaning she had to let the sword go. This was going to be a big payday for the shady businessman. He knew an amateur when he saw one. The sword she was holding was forged of ember iron. The material was really rare and in turn really valuable. He would be able to sell it for at least 10,000. Xiao stepped in as the businessman was rushing her to sell. Yencisi was surprised to see Xiao. But it made sense that he was here making trades of his own. Xiao Qiu's system informed him that the equipment was a level 5 professional long blade. It was in the category of special equipment. Equipment description. Although at face value, it is only an old long blade, it contains some rare special metal materials, which few people knew was stained with the blood of a demon god. The question is that a blessing or a curse? Yen, would you sell me this blade? Sell it to you? The salesman was furious. He could sense this precious opportunity slipping away from him. Xiao paid her right away. The salesman knew it was over. The two sit on a bench holding their new items. Yen couldn't take so much from the man who she owed her life. Xiao insisted that she had already paid him back for saving her life, and that he at least owed her money for allowing him to stay with her and cooking him such delicious meals. He insisted she take the money for accommodation expenses at the very least. In reality, he owed her way more money for the blade. It wasn't as simple as she believed it to be. He wouldn't be able to inform her of the reasons. But the blade was worth way more than a mere 10,000. This shocked her, for this blade was just a relic of the past. But she expected he had many secrets. She was already forming a small list. How he had exited the spider dungeon before any of her team had even woke up. How he had come by so much money in such a short span of time. But she wasn't the type of person that pried at other people's secrets. She asked him to be kind to Flying Crow. It was the last thing the siblings had to tie them to their father. Flying Crow. Like a crow that comes and goes freely, hiding in the dark. The name was spot on, yet normally kept her emotions to herself. But she felt it was her responsibility to inform him of Flying Crow's history. You do know of the Great Ghost Incident. It happened here in Day City. Yes, level 10 monster emerged from a secret realm and went on a rampage through the city. Neither the army or professional heroes were able to stand in the presence of such a monster. Anyone around who could fight took up arms. It was because of their sacrifice that we, ordinary people, were able to escape. My father was also killed in that incident. The only thing left behind of him was his blade Flying Crow. The great ghost emitted a horrible radiation. It covered nearly half the city and turned everything it touched green. From the clouds in the sky down to the simple building materials that made up the foundation of the city. Ordinary people instantly became a pool of flesh and blood. And anyone that was near the incident will die eventually from radiation poisoning. You can say Qianlu was one of the lucky ones. She was touched by the radiation and lost the use of her legs. But she survived. Others weren't so fortunate. She was so talented with the sword. Her talent was so great that it allowed her to beat advanced swordsmen at her school with nothing more than a wooden practice sword. Her future was bright. We all believed one day she would become even stronger than our father. But now we have to pay high-level professionals to keep the radiation from spreading. This is the reason why I chose not to be a close combat specialist. Becoming a healer gave me a higher survival rate. I have to be here for my sister. I can't carelessly risk my life. They had me transferred from the front line to take care of the Great Ghost incident. I wiped it out with one punch. But the ghost had ran rampant in Day City for over 10 hours. I didn't realize how much havoc that monster had wreaked on the lives of the ordinary people involved in that incident. That's why I hate monsters so much. I was sure that after the Great Ghost incident, that Mask had arranged for the federal government to allocate a large amount of funds to ensure the safety of the lives of every disaster victim. Your sister should have been reimbursed for her treatments. Was there such a thing all this time? Let's head home. I feel as if a boulder has fallen off my shoulders. If you thought my cooking was good, I'll show you my real culinary skills tonight. As they left, Xiao passed by 2 members of the Bureau of Inspection, doing investigation work to unravel the trail that would lead them to him. If they only knew how close they were to the culprit. Back at home, Qianlu was taking a break from her battle with the keyboard warriors, when intruders began beating on her family's door. She knew it was the people from Kaijiang Investment Company. Qianlu wasn't a coward. Even without her legs, she would protect her family's home. She equipped herself and headed to battle. As she reached the front gate, the enemies forced their way in. They were happy someone was around, even if it was the little cripple. Qianlu attacked to defend her family's honor, but came crashing to the ground. Having spirit alone just wasn't enough. She laid on the ground, looking up defiantly. The leader mocked her condition. He sent his men to trash the house. We were planning to teach Xiaoqiu a lesson he wouldn't soon forget. Their search didn't bear any fruit. The leader wanted to bring the cripple back with them, but his men insisted that it was not a good idea. Kidnapping was a serious crime. So instead they decided to take a different route. He ordered one of his men to stay behind with the truck, and he was to back it in when the other 2 arrived. This way it would only be a minor accident caused by the loss of control of the truck. And it was too bad that the truck was filled with gifts collected from the residential area's garbage bins. It was definitely important for them to remain law-abiding citizens. The 2 arrived home soaked. A thunderstorm had broken out halfway through their journey. Hurry, we're almost there. Yan was shocked to see her sister Qianlu laid out on the ground. The gates had been ripped from their home. As they helped her into her chair, as she explained what happened. One day, those bastards are going to get what's coming to them. Xiao, can you take her inside? I'll go and work on the gates. She turned, heading towards the demolished gates. Xiao turned around to see a garbage truck had destroyed the entryway, and was dumping all its garbage at the feet of Yan. She was barely holding herself in check. Oh, I didn't realize this was Mrs. Yan's house. How could I have mistaken this place for the garbage dump? Well, at least it's raining. You can stand there and get clean, without having to track that mess back into your home. Expect many more gifts from the Kaijiang company. Qianlu wanted to go to her sister's side, but Xiao explained that would only make things worse. Give her a minute to compose herself. Yan marched past them. There was an ominous blue haze emitting from her body. Xiao and Qianlu stood out in the rain. Can you tell me why it's like this? Tell me, is there justice in this world? In my experience, there never was. What about in the future? Don't count on it. There has to be at least fairness. Nope, that lie is just fabricated from injustice. Even the rain that falls on everyone is unequal. Xiao reached out towards her sword. It falls on those suffering as well as the unrighteous. This world is unjust. So, rain that falls in an unjust world is also unjust. Qianlu was devastated by the reality that lay before her. You do know, in my eyes your family's matters are minor. I have no interest in the trouble and injustices that you two are experiencing. I should be focusing my energy on more important things. But it seems trouble always comes for me anyway. What a pain in my ass. Mr. Xiao, why are you leaving? I have trash to take out. Are you crazy? That company is the equivalent of the Yakuza. Their boss is said to be at least level 5. And that's not taking into account the countless level 3 and 4 members they have. You just said our family's troubles are minor. I don't want you to get hurt. You don't have to take our family's struggles upon your shoulders. Yeah, this is a real hassle. A total waste of time. However, there's only one cure for these types of problems. And it most definitely involves cracking skulls. Why am I so fond of using violence to eliminate my troubles? The storm continued to batter the city of Day, forcing the citizens to take shelter. The streets were deserted, just the way an organization of bullies liked it. Xiao stepped into the frame as two well-dressed losers were leaving their headquarters. He stared up at the large headquarters and realized he had his work cut out for him. He entered the building sword in hand, and was instantly noticed by security. It had been some time since they had a little fun with troublemakers. They approached him with smiles on their face. Do you know where you are? How dare you carry a weapon in this establishment? Xiao ignored them. If they mind their own business, he'd continue to mind his. As they proceeded to stop him, he continued his stride, not missing a beat. But behind him, two puddles, filled with chunks, fell to the floor. Mission: Blood Sacrificial Blade. Description: This blade that has tasted lots of blood on the battlefield has once again been awakened. Or perhaps what was awakened was the blood of the demon god. Mission requirements: Use Flying Crow to eliminate all hostile beings. Mission reward: Flying Crow will use the blood to undergo an upgrade. Backup security wielding katanas made their way out to greet him. He's hostile, everyone be careful. The group encircled him, increasing their advantage. Two of the hotheads decided to attack first. They dashed in, increasing their momentum as they struck. Neither of their heads were still attached as their momentum took them past Xiao. The third forced his aura into his blade. This caused Xiao to look at him with fury in his eyes. The next instant, Xiao removed that arm, and intentionally stuck his blade in the man's side. The others saw this as their opening. As they charged in, he released his blade and punched them through the chest. How is the weapon wielder so strong with their bare hands? Was the last question he'd ever asked. Xiao continued on his way. Anyone with sense headed in the opposite direction. The wannabe Yakuza members. Was discussing the perfect subject at the moment. Profits above all else was their motto. If they managed to get the sisters' property redeveloped, they would all make a huge profit. An underling burst in to warn them that someone was killing their way up the tower. Give us the important details. How many people dare to invade our headquarters? A single individual. Only one? Someone has a suicide wish. But the leader wasn't so rash. He knew their organization did their best to avoid powerful individuals. How had something gone so wrong that they were in this situation? It sucked that he had to deal with this problem. But it was time to get to work. He stood up, too lazy to raise his axe from the floor. Before they could even make it out of the room, Xiao had made it to their location. They were shocked that someone would kill a man begging for his life. As Xiao crested the landing, fear ran down their spines upon seeing him. The leader tried to pick the right words to ready them for battle. A mage, a warrior, and a gunner struck their battle poses. Xiao commented on them being level 4 professionals, and they believed this meant he understood what kind of situation he was in. They questioned him on his reason for being there. Sir, he's the one that put Tujing in the coma. Xiao was no fool, he knew it was time to become a monster. He plunged the group into darkness. To think he thinks that turning off the lights is going to change anything. The gunner specialized in working in the darkness. As he activated his night vision, it took his brain a second to comprehend what stood in front of them. Monster! Thanks for watching. We'll be back soon with another exciting installment, so stay tuned and hit that subscribe button to make sure you don't miss it. We'd love to continue this story, so let us know if you want to see the next part by liking this video.